We're going to do something. We're going to do it together. I promise we're going to come out of this if he starts lying or threatening people. This is Donald Trump on the first day of his criminal trial.
Well, I was looking forward for years to have graduation with his mother and father there, and it looks like the judge isn't going to allow me to escape this scam. It's a scam trial. If you read all of the legal pundits, all of the legal scholars today, there's not one that I see that said this is a case that should be brought or tried. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt. It continues, and it continues forever. And we're not going to be given a fair trial. It's a very, very sad thing. In addition, as you know, next Thursday, we're before the United States Supreme Court on a very big hearing on immunity. And this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. And the judge, of course, is not going to allow us. He's a very conflicted judge. And he's not going to allow us to go to that. He won't allow me to leave here for a half a day, go to D.C. and go before the United States Supreme Court because he thinks he's superior, I guess, to the Supreme Court. We got a real problem with this judge. We have a real problem with a lot of things having to do with this trial, including the DA, because you go right outside and people are being mugged and killed all day long, and he's sitting here all day with about 10 or 12 prosecutors over nothing. Over what people say shouldn't be a trial. So I just want to thank you very much, but that I can't go to my son's graduation or that I can't go to the United States Supreme Court, that I'm not in Georgia or Florida or North Carolina campaigning like I should be. It's perfect for the radical left Democrats. That's exactly what they want. This is about election interference. That's all it's about. Thank you very much.
All right, so this was about a request that Trump had made to skip his criminal trial, something he's expected to be present for every single day, to attend the oral arguments in the Supreme Court hearing over whether or not the president has absolute immunity. The judge said no, and so Trump came out and complained. He appeared when we first went to him to be complaining about not being permitted to attend a graduation, but we want to run that down to make sure that is indeed what transpired. This was a pretty grievance-filled, griping Trump. This wasn't, the jurors love me so much. And he looked fatigued from the day. I mean, you had the reporting, and Maggie Haberman, I know, saw him, nod off at one point. And there's also a vast body of reporting that he was very engaged in jury selection. But this was a pretty defeated and deflated Donald J. Trump.
I think he's really angry, and he's realizing that he's going to now have to sit there every day. And the judge told him this morning.
Timing is no fun.
The judge told him this morning that if he fails to show up, a warrant will be issued for his arrest, which is standard for anybody in this sort of circumstance. And also, if he disrupts the proceedings, he could be ejected or go to jail. This is real.
Vaughn, Hillyard, has it ever been this real for Donald Trump?
I don't think there's anything much more real than a criminal trial. Look, I mean, clearly what Donald Trump inside here is now looking at is the potential of attacking the judge who could be very well the one who determines what his sentence is if the jury finds him guilty on any of these charges here. At the same time, I think it's important to note he did not attend the Supreme Court arguments back in February when the Supreme Court mulled over whether he should be permitted onto the Colorado ballot or not. So he made the determination to stay in West Palm Beach at his Mar-a-Lago estate on that day here. For Donald Trump, I think that this is real, and I think it's notable that his attorney, Todd Blanche, who has been very defiant every time that he has spoken here today, he said, quote, when talking about this, that they do not believe that they should even be here today, to which Judge Marchant pushed back and saying, quote, you don't believe you should be here right now? In an incredulous way. So this is the very judge that could determine the sentence, and one for Donald Trump, in which he, of course, wants to be on the campaign trail, wants to be doing anything other but this, but he's looking at several long days ahead for himself over the course of 6 to 8 weeks.
I mean, Vaughn, this is where these two realities collide, right? From standing in front of supporters who will believe that there are 42,000 people in their midst when there are actually 5, to standing before a judge who says, no, you can't skip out to go to the Supreme Court arguments. To your point, I'm sure the judge has access to the information that he wasn't at the last one. This is the rare arena in which Donald Trump is not in charge of his own fate. He's not in charge of his schedule. He's not in charge of when he gets to eat. He's not in charge of when he gets to go. He's not in charge of when he gets to come. The schedule is set by the judge. The rules are set by the judge. And he is, in some ways, like any other criminal defendant in these windows of time.
This isn't politics. You know, you can't convince Chris Sununu, despite Chris Sununu's past outspoken statements of you. You know, you can't convince him to vote for you in November, right? This isn't sort of the wielding power. He has no cabinet positions to offer the jurors, right? He doesn't have the vice presidency to offer. He doesn't have the power of social media to go and attack somebody like a Kim Reynolds or a Ron DeSantis. You know, that's the difference. These jurors, they are normal human beings who live normal lives here in New York. And so for Donald Trump, you know, he was able to wield his power through his business ventures, you know, which Susanne has chronicled over these decades, in which he was able to rise to real estate magnate, right, and have a TV show, right, largely out of really defining who he was. But at this point in time inside of the courtroom, it's unlike anything he's ever done before, because unlike on that campaign stage in front of those several thousand folks in central Pennsylvania, it's not him who gets to write his story. It's the evidence. It is those who were closest to him, Hope Hicks. You know, it is Michael Cohen, who worked side by side before flipping on him. The documents are going to be the ones telling his story. The prosecutors are going to be telling his story. And Donald Trump has no choice but to sit there and acknowledge that the jurors who hold his fate are going to be the ones to make that determination, not him and not any of those who he can offer a better political plus job to sometime down the line in the future.